Hello, fellow risk takers, and welcome to my worst investment ever. It's the podcast where we learn to create, grow, but most importantly, protect our wealth. I want to tell you about the interview I did with Scott Carson. We titled it, Double Check the Worst Case. Let me tell you a bit about Scott. He's the CEO of WeCloseNotes.com in Austin, Texas. He's a real estate investor since 2002. He's focused on distressed mortgage and note industry since 2008. He buys and sells non-performing mortgages from banks and hedge funds that are U.S. properties. He's also the host of a popular podcast called The Note Closers Show. He's a sought-after speaker on distressed debt, marketing, and raising private capital. And he's been featured in Investors Business Daily, The Wall Street Journal, and Inc.com. Now, it's time for Scott's worst investment ever. Well, Scott and a consortium of investors invested in distressed home loans in Chicago. He thought that he could work out these distressed home loans and then bring them back to life. Unfortunately, very quickly, the deal went south, and he got into legal proceedings, which dragged on and on and on. And eventually, he bought out fellow investors and closed the deal. But he lost $250,000 in the process. Ouch. What's interesting about his discussion about it is how he talks about eating that loss and why it was better for his business in the long term to do that in order to keep his investors with him. That's what I found to be one of the most fascinating parts of the story. Now, lessons Scott learned from his worst investment ever: always double check legal liabilities and processes. Plan for worst case scenarios. Reach out for help without hesitation when times are tough, and take it easy. I think he also learned about the concept of understanding that local market that you're investing in. Now, my takeaways are it's so important to reach out for help when times are tough. That's the time that you need it most. And in this case, Scott kind of kept to himself to try to work this thing out, which is our natural inclination. Remember that stress is a killer. So try to reduce that stress into your life. Also, I learned from him about you don't need to draw a confrontation with people. Just stay calm and try to work it out with them rather than drawing it to a confrontation. And last thing is separate the research that you do on return versus the research you do on risk. Clearly, he was excited about the return, but the categories of mistakes that I see in the podcast generally are these 6. And here we can see a case of failed to properly assess and manage the risk. Now, Scott's actionable advice is that if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Also, he says seek counsel rather than seeking advice. And he talks particularly about listening when you're getting that counsel. So, subscribe to get more of this and to never miss a show about my worst investment ever. And also, click the link below in the description to listen to Scott's complete story, and I'll see you there.